It could be named place for most of us.
Sure.
Okay. All right.
So I got here that one. And then lower third, I do that. I go.
Oh. Okay.
Save that as. Should. Except for somehow it's reversed.
I only. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's how it does it.
Doesn't matter.
Probably Tony Beatrice and Steve Canning. Because of the right to left.
Yeah, but it's reversed. It's kind of fun.
For you guys, it's normal for everybody else. Right now, there. Yeah, you fixed it. Good.
Yep. All right. So who do we have on this session?
I'll let you know in just a second. All right. In this session, we should have Rick, Shanna, Amber, and Donna.
Okay.
Amber. No, Amber. Oh, Amber. Oh, Amber's stuff.
So yeah. So I may have to duck out around 4 o'clock. So is there any way?
After you probably will have to.
Probably. I'm juggling all sorts of domestic stuff. It's kind of tricky. I may be able to stay on my phone.
Hey Rick, how are you? Glad that you could join us. Hello, Amber. Welcome, welcome. Hey guys, so welcome to the webinar. We're going to officially start in just a minute or two. We're waiting for everybody else to join us. So I'm glad that you're able to get in and you're able to use the question and answer.
Seems about right.
That's about right.
I'm a Luigi. Number 1.
Mario. I had my dog in the webinar this morning.
Yeah, I saw that. Okay. Stuff. You have examples of IT 621 stuff? They're just the things on your www2 space. They're kind of old though.
So I'm glad everybody's joining in. It looks like there's 2 people out of the 4 that we're expecting. For anybody besides Tony and Steve, we're not going to be able to hear you or see you. We're just going to be able to see your text questions and answers. I sent you an email last night. I'm used to the regular Hangouts where everybody joins and everybody can see each other, but this is one of the fancy Hangouts on Airs. So it's a little bit different, but you should still be able to participate just fine. If you do get kicked at any point, go ahead and just rejoin the conversation. We're going to send you a recording of any or all of the webinars after our last one is done, so you'll be able to see all that content. But in the meantime, just sit back and enjoy the ride. We're waiting for 2 more people, and then we'll get going in just a minute.
I need this half my life. Where I go.
And you're all of the webinars after our last one.
There we go. All right, I think we're going to get going. People can join us as they arrive, and we'll catch them up to speed. At any point, if you have questions about any of the content we're going off, just feel free to shoot a question in the question and answer box, and we'll see it after a couple of seconds. So if we power through it, don't worry, we will come back to it. So, well, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Mush here. I'm broadcasting live from Charlotte, North Carolina. We have Tony and Steve from the not chilly, it's still very nice, up in Potsdam, New York. And thank you guys for making the time to be here today. It's very exciting to be able to bring you together. This is our first official kickoff webinar series. We've done webinars before, but this is the first time we're getting everybody together in the first weeks or days of school to get everybody on the same page in terms of starting their academy. Like I said, if at any point you have any questions, pop them up on the screen or send us an email, and we'll be happy to reach out to you. We had a session this morning with about 7 or 8 people, 7 or 8 of our academy directors, and went great. And we had some really good conversation that came from there. We'll try and get on the topics that they brought up. And otherwise, let's get going. I'd like to extend a welcome back to all of our schools who are back here for their 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th years with the NEF STEM Academies. You can see there we have a couple of Academies of the Year for the last couple of years, and I already know that there's some rumblings in terms of people wanting to take the throne at the end of this year, so we're going to keep an eye out and get you all the resources that you need to be able to do that and to have as much success as possible this year. And we do have a new school. Right now, our newest school is from Martins Ferry, Ohio. They're launching in November of this year, so I'll be letting them know some of the information as it applies to them. A little bit of a different schedule for them, but they'll still have all the resources that they need. So the purpose of this webinar, we're going to cover a bunch of things. We're going to do the Academy Director Handbook that I just sent you yesterday. So if you have that available, it would be great for you to bring that out and sort of browse through as we go over that, ask any questions that you have. What you can expect this year with Success Maker and GradPoint. I'm sure you know that there's some new things happening, some exciting things, some very good things happening there. Tony has some information on the STEM activities that we're launching this year. And as I mentioned, we're doing a live Q&A, so feel free to post your questions as we go through. The first thing I'd like to go over with all of you is our Academy Director Handbook. And this is a brand new document, brand new resource for you. It is kind of a start to finish easy list of everything you need to do as the Academy Director. So if this is your first year or second year or second half of your first year or 3rd, 4th, 5th year being an Academy Director, all of the information that you need to know about is in there in pretty good detail. Of course, every school is going to have their own custom implementation of the STEM Plus Academy, but this is just a general framework that is going to be good for you to base your STEM Plus Academy off of. It's going to give you a roadmap of everything that you should be touching on there in the course of the year and setting it up in ongoing maintenance and mid and end year reporting. And make sure that you have a very clear idea of what's expected of you. Additionally, in the Academy Director Handbook and the Administrator Handbook, what I'm going to be sharing with you is a Management by Systems plan. This is developed by Dr. Gatan. It's very important to him to make sure that there's administrator and teacher and student and parent buy-in to the STEM Plus Academy. It's great to have the Academy resources available, but if they're not being used efficiently or properly by everybody in the school district, then it doesn't make as much sense to have them available. So the MBS plan is sort of a commitment by you and by your supervisors or your administration to do everything in your powers to implement the STEM Plus Academy. And here's kind of an outline of everything that's in the handbook. The important things that I want to touch on, I mean, the whole purpose of the STEM Plus Academy is to get student achievement, either in Success Maker or GradPoint. If you're using Success Maker, we're always looking for that 1.0 per student per subject grade level gain. If you're using GradPoint, your objectives are going to change depending on how you're using it, but it's always to get students the information, the knowledge, the learning, and the growth that is there for them potentially. So to that effect, the things that you are going to be responsible for making sure that you have in place, or that you show us that you have in place, include the MBS plan that I was talking about, contact information for you and the rest of your administration, your implementation plan, which gives us the schedule of use and your target demographics for the students that you're going to be providing the software for, showing you how to get your training scheduled and implemented for either SuccessMaker or GradPoint or both, making sure that you have the leaderboards for your school or for your classrooms, making sure that you have your incentives budgeted and then reimbursed, the ongoing use of the core software, again, this SuccessMaker or GradPoint, making sure that you're monitoring student use and encouraging students or giving them the extra time or attention they need when they're not getting as much success as you'd expect them to from the software. In addition to that, this year, like I said, we have some STEM software, some STEM activities that we think are important to include in your STEM Plus Academy, as well as the NEFU courses, which can be used for students in your school, teachers in your school, or parents or community members for your district. Those are the highlights of the deliverables. As we go through during the course of the year, please feel free to ask us any questions about it. I'll be going through a little bit more in depth and email to you guys later this week, and just getting our weekly emails started back up again. Also in the Academy Director Handbook, there's an overview of the people and the software and the incentives that are involved in the STEM Plus Academy. This is good, especially if this is your first time or it's been a while since you've done your Academy Director duties, to remind yourself or to understand how all the different parts work together. Finally, there's the reports and performance, the weekly reports that we're going to have you do, and the mid-year and end-of-year reports that you're going to be responsible for preparing, and just how we're making sure that you're covering your responsibilities. And finally, like I said, at the end, there's the MBS plan template for you and your administrators to fill out. So again, this MBS plan, it needs to be filled out. We have a template for you, filled out for you based on whether you're using SuccessMaker, GradPoint, the NEFU courses, or some combination of all three. You and your administrator, either your principal, your superintendent, or both, are going to set a target, whether that's the grade level improvement for the year for SuccessMaker, or your course usage and your course plan in GradPoint. This is also going to ensure that your principals and your supervisors, your superintendents, give you the authority that you need as an Academy Director to be able to implement the NEF STEM Plus Academy effectively. I mean, having all the resources is great until you don't have teacher buy-in, or until you don't have principal support, or until you don't have parents understanding how the software works. So this MBS ensures that your administration and your teachers and you are all working together to get the Academy going well. And it also includes the information on your incentives and all of the other elements of Dr. K's PLS-MMTT, the Total System Solution, to provide the resources to the students, the teachers, the parents, and the administrators to have an effective academy. This MBS plan needs to be filled out and returned to us before the end of this month, just so we get everything going and started off on the right foot. To that end, the implementation plan is also another important start of the year document. Basically, this is your plan. This is your plan of attack for how you're going to use SuccessMaker or for GradPoint. SuccessMaker, you need to identify which grades, how many students, and how much time per week these students are going to have. First off, make sure that you're not exceeding the total number of licenses that are available to you. If you do need more licenses, let us know, and we can have a conversation about how we can make that happen. The end goal, like I said, the end goal is always, we recommend always 1.0 grade level gain per subject for your target group of students. So you can have more than one target group of students, you can have different goals for each student, you can have different subjects that are the target for each student. But the goal is always 1.0 grade level from the implementation, or from the initial placement to the end of the year. So from the end of that initial placement to your last day of SuccessMaker use, 1.0 gain. And usually you find that you can get that 1.0 gain in about 20 to 30 learning hours. 24 to 30 learning hours is safe. And if you break that down over the course of about 40 weeks, winds up being about 60 minutes of use per week per subject. but more importantly, it's 0.03 grade level gain per week. We'll touch on that a little bit more. But this is just your general implementation plan, sort of beginning with the end in mind, knowing what your target is and how you can break it down into the very small weekly goals. If you're using GradPoint, you're going to identify which students are going to be using it, how you're going to use it, whether it's going to be credit recovery or online courses or a hybrid implementation, the courses per student, and the overall courses that are going to be available. So that's just the general focus of the implementation plan, is to make sure that you understand where you're going and you know what your goals are. So at this point, we kind of covered a lot in just the starting steps for the implementation plan, the Academy Director Handbook. Going to hang out here for about 30 seconds. Let us know if you have any questions. Otherwise, you can just pop in a little OK and let us know that you are all set. I wish we had some elevator music to play right now. I have the stream of the viewers going on in another screen, so I'm going to wait until we're seem to be caught up over there. There we go. Welcome back, guys. Okay, I'm going to keep going. If we get any more questions, I will pop back. Once you get all the setup phases done, the last part of that is going to be your leaderboards. If you don't have leaderboards yet, we encourage you to order as many as you would like or you need for your classrooms, for your school, or whatever sort of distribution of student groups you have. And Steve can talk more on this because he is the one who's going to be creating your leaderboards for you.
Yep, so this year I'll be working with you guys to customize these things and make sure they get to you. So over on that website, there's a URL there on that slide. There's a big form that you could fill out that basically gives me all the info I'll need to send you these posters. I think most of you are familiar with what they are, but they essentially help track, visually the progress of your students for all to see and kind of facilitate a little bit of competition, friendly competition, I guess, as they go. We've been using these since we started, and they've always been really successful. And they're free, and we recommend them. And you can also work with me again to customize them as you see fit.
Great, thanks, Steve. Yeah, so you can pop on over to academies.cyberlearning.org and see all the information there. And there's the link to the order form on that page. We'll also be linking you all these. We'll be sending you all the links that we talk about today, so don't worry about trying to copy them down as we go, unless you'd like to. The next bit is incentives. This is probably the biggest driving force in the STEM Plus Academy. This is the student incentive budget. What we encourage you to do is to solicit ideas from your students for what they want to get out of this. I mean, they have a budget that is going to be spent on them for motivational rewards. You need to create a budget template of all the stuff that you're going to use as incentives, whether it's a one-time purchase, whether it's things to be raffled off, whether they're recurring weekly, monthly, or quarterly incentives that you're going to be doing. After you have this budgeted, get the approval from Tony. We encourage you to do that before you make any purchases, just to avoid the risk of purchasing anything that might not be approved. It doesn't usually happen, but we would rather you get it approved than have it be the case where it doesn't get approved. Hang on to your receipts and submit them. We do 2 reimbursement phases, one in December and one in June. It doesn't matter to us whether they're your receipts or the school's receipts. They just can't be third-party receipts. So we can't reimburse a vendor or a field trip location, but we can reimburse you or we can reimburse the school. So there's a template for your budget. You can use that. You can use your own. It doesn't matter to us as long as you have a list of everything that you plan on spending money for your students, and it has a total that is within your allotted incentives budget. If you need more information on that, just shoot me an email. I send everybody an email over the summer about what their incentives budget are, but if you have any questions on that, let me know, and I'm happy to help you out. We also have templates for the reimbursement invoices, but we won't need that till December or June, and I will send you more information on that as we get closer. Here's some of the suggestions that we have, and this is by no means a comprehensive list or an all-inclusive list. These are just some of the things that we've seen that we know work well. We know what works probably best is a combination of guaranteed rewards once students hit a certain tier of performance, and then raffle rewards that students can be entered into, again, once they demonstrate a certain amount of success or time or performance using the core software. So you can see here it ranges out from tiny things like stickers to huge things like field trips to sports games and everything in between. Basically, if it benefits the students, we're all but guaranteed to approve it. If you have any questions about it beforehand or you don't want to risk it on the budget before you get approval, shoot us an email. We're happy to let you know. But most of the time, as long as it benefits the students or it's going directly to the students in some way, it's fair game. Here are a couple more of the incentives that we've seen done. The top 3 pictures are all from Tri-Valley's end of the year STEM Plus Awards Day. They actually tied into their end of the year field day, so they're kind of able to go above and beyond in terms of what they offer to the students who are involved in the STEM Plus Academy. So you can see the bounce house, the outdoor field day, and I was told those giant donut things are called belly bumpers, and it looks like they're basically bumper cars for running at your friends. So that's kind of exciting to see. Down in the bottom right, that's our school, Balco. They went to the Cosmosphere, the local Cosmosphere, where they did a whole demonstration on aerodynamics and space, and they actually won a local award and are having their achievements sent digitally to the moon on an SD card. NAF is being represented on that, so it's really neat to be a part of that. They're also doing a whole bunch of projects this year with the Cosmosphere, so they'll be updating us throughout the year in terms of their STEM activities that they're doing. So you can follow us on social media and on our website to see what they're up to. Then in the bottom left, it's Aki Kurosi. They went to a Mariners game, which is pretty awesome. They've done that for the last 2 years, and you can see some of the students there at the game. These are the students who were able to, who were performing well and successful. Maybe they got invited to go to the Mariners game. And again, this is all through their student incentives money. So it's really exciting and really dynamic, the scope of what you can offer to students for incentives. So in order to get to the point where the students are achieving their incentives, it's on you. It's on you as the Academy Director to make sure that you are providing the support and the resources for the students. And what that basically boils down to, and what we're going to be looking for in terms of you on a weekly basis, is goal completion and communication. The goal completion is going to be based on your yearly goal, and we just break that down into weekly targets. So for example, this is what we generally recommend for most of our Success Maker schools. If you have a 1.0 grade level increase target, that breaks down over the course of 40 weeks to about 0.025 grade level increase per week. But you're never going to have exactly 40 weeks of school. You're going to have snow days maybe, you're going to have assemblies, sports field trips, regular field trips, kids are out sick. So we encourage you to anticipate these sort of hiccups and bump it up to a weekly goal of 0.03 grade level increase. And as long as a majority of students are hitting that target, then you'll be all set. The other part of your weekly goal is communication. Just quick weekly phone call with me. Let me know what's up. If nothing's up, that's fine. We'll just talk about the weekly progress the students made and plans for the following week. Eventually, this could just turn into an email saying, yep, nothing's up. Once you demonstrated that, yes, you can maintain the program, everything that's supposed to be happening is happening, that's fine. We can just pop that over to an email with NEF approval. The weekly statuses is an easy way for us and for you and your administrators to understand what's going on at this school. So if you hit your target goal and you complete the weekly conversation with me, basically if you do what you're supposed to and the students are performing the way that they're supposed to, it's a green status. Everything's great, everything's going well. Yellow status means something might be up. Either the students missed the goal for the week, or your year-to-date goal is slightly below where it needs to be, or you weren't able to call me when you were supposed to call me. That makes it a yellow status for the week. Usually that's easily changed into a retroactive green by correcting or addressing whatever is going on. If you missed a call with me, call me back on Monday. If you're just below your year-to-date goal, offer catch-up sessions either during the day, during lunch, before or after school, or at home for students to make up the gains that they're not hitting. And then once things are back on target, it turns into a green. The place where it can become an issue is if we ever get a red status. And if you miss your goal for 3 or more weeks in a row, or if you're just not responding to our calls or emails, this is going to be red. This is something's up, something's not working. We need to identify what's going on. If you have a couple of yellows going on that aren't turned into greens, or even a single red, we're going to bring your principal or your superintendent into it, because this needs to be fixed and quickly. We need to figure out what's going on, come up with a plan to address it, and make it so that the students have the resources they need. They're doing what they need to. They have their target is on target. So we'll come up with a plan. You, us, your supervisor or supervisors, to get your school, to get your average student performance at or above where it needs to be. So if you're mid-year and you're not close to 0.5 grade level increase, we'll come up with a plan for ways that we can get your school caught up to where we want to be. It might be the case that we need to adjust your goal, but we always want to try and keep that original goal as intact as possible. Ultimately, what it boils down to is consistent engagement on your part. I mean, you're the academy director. It's your responsibility to make sure that all the resources are in place and that all the teachers and students are doing what they're supposed to be doing. To that end, this year the Academy Director stipend is tied to your performance overall, as well as, if you're a Success Maker school, the Success Maker performance overall. So if you're a Success Maker school, your stipend in December and June are going to be modified based on overall student performance. So if your target grade level increase at December, these are all just numbers that we used for examples, but if your target grade level increase based on where you are in the school year is 0.4, and your actual grade level increase in December is 0.3, well, that's only 75% of your target, so your stipend is going to be 75% of what's available. On the other hand, if your target, for example, looking down at June, if your target is 1.0 at the end of the year and your students do 1.1, then your stipend is going to be 110%. So this has the potential to be very rewarding for you if you provide the resources and you provide the support for the students and the teachers, make sure that they have what they need and they're engaging as often as they need to be. In addition to the Success Maker modifier there, it's indicated in the AD handbook, the Director handbook. There's a rubric about 3/4 of the way through. It basically just is a quick, are you doing what you're doing are you doing what you're supposed to be doing in terms of getting the academy set up for the year, communicating with us in an ongoing basis, making sure the incentives are budgeted for and distributed, and that you're giving us the reports and the deliverables that are required of you. If you're doing all these things, it's really easy to get a good assessment and to get your full stipend. If you're going above and beyond, we give you some indications of how we can determine that. There'll be a bonus in it. You'll get a bonus above the allotted stipend. On the flip side, again, if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, then the stipend is going to be reduced appropriately. But like I said, it's really easy to do what you're supposed to do if you follow what's in the Academy Director Handbook. And if you're not sure, ask us questions as soon as you have any questions. We're here for the students. That's our end game. So we want to make sure that you have the tools and the support from us that you need to make sure that your academy goes well at your school and supports the students. So at this point, I'm going to give you another little bit of a breather. Again, there's a good amount of information in here. I'm going to keep going. I just want to let you know that you have the opportunity to ask questions. I'll pop right back to them if you have any questions and I see them in the next minute or so. In the meantime, I'm going to start talking about the digital literacy and the NEFU courses. These are some other components. I'm sure that you're aware, if this is your second or third year as a school, that are available, or as an academy. These are available to you. The digital literacy course, it's a course that Steve and I have developed along with the support of some grad students and some educational technology professionals. It's a course that helps anybody use a computer effectively and well. So this is starting at about 6th grade and up. It's great for anybody in middle school. It's good for high schoolers. It's especially good for adults who have had computer experience but aren't really good at it, or aren't sure what they're doing, or aren't really comfortable doing what they're doing on the computer. It basically breaks using a computer down to its foundations and makes sure that everything that you know about using the computer builds up on that. In addition to that digital literacy course, we have NEFU or Skillsoft courses. We recommend these for anybody aged high school age or older. We see this used a lot in being offered to teachers and to parents and to community members. There's a IT training, desktop training, business training. There's even some preparation for industry certification tests. So these are all available to you at no cost. I've sent you information on how to set up these academies in the past. We are changing our delivery system a little bit. We're switching from an old learning management system to a new one. It's still going to be available at no cost, but it's going to be another probably week or so before you're able to start enrolling people. There's more information on these courses online at our website. It's at academies.cyberlearning.org/NEFU courses. Tony stepped away for a second, Steve?
Yep, he's gone.
Okay, gone?
Yep.
Cool. All right. Do you want to try talking on his behalf, or do you want me to take over?
I can talk about the STEM stuff a little bit.
All right.
So this year we have some partnerships going. At least the coolest one I would say is the one with Minecraft EDU, and there's a few pictures of all these things here. But yeah, we have licenses and a partnership, and I guess Tony knows all the details on this, of course, so you'll have to talk to him more about it. But just know that is an option. It can be used as part of the rewards and incentives, and tied into a little bit of this competition that we'll talk about in a bit. And then there are a whole bunch of other options. One's Robotechnic, Lego Robotics, Fisher Technic, rather. They're STEM activities that, well, promote science, technology, engineering, and math, and we've been testing these ourselves here, and they're a lot of fun. And good learning tools and good incentive options as well. So Tony can talk to you about that stuff probably, and there's information on our website as well. And that was Joel calling. So I guess that's this slide.
Yeah, I'm just going to talk a little bit more about it. The Minecraft EDU licenses, we've already paid for those, so you are free to start using those in your academies as incentives as soon as you're ready. Tony is probably going to set up another webinar in a couple of weeks to go more in depth about best practices for setting up the Minecraft. I know Rick has been very successful in incorporating Minecraft already, and there are a bunch of schools that are doing this sort of STEM activity already. You don't have to stop. You don't have to change what you're doing. We're just letting you know that these are additional options that are available to you. Some of the other things, I mean, like I said, Minecraft is already available for you. You just need to say you want to do it. The other ones, the PBS Nova Labs is free, but if there are any of these STEM activities that you want to use and you don't have the funding for, let Tony know, and we can discuss ways to do it. You may be able to use some of your incentives money. You may be able to acquire funding through other sources. But we really want to encourage you to set up STEM activities once students reach a certain performance point. So if you're in Success Maker, once they get that third of a grade level increase, once they're at 0.33, then we really want to push you to offer some sort of STEM activity to the students. That'll be an incentive for them in addition to the other incentives to continue on their progression and continue learning. We can discuss what appropriate targets are for grad point schools, but really incorporate it into the overall STEM program is our suggestion. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what's new with our NEF, with SuccessMaker and GradPoint, and eventually Skillsoft courses. You probably got my email saying that there's a new site for SuccessMaker. It's going to be at nef.smhost.net. We're finishing up the transition to that site now. And if Tony were here, he'd speak on this a little bit more. But you may or may not be able to be logging into the new domain for SuccessMaker. And that's a combination of three kind of big reasons that all combine unfortunately, into a perfect storm of delays. The first thing, probably the biggest thing, is that Pearson's data center went down. Their cloud storage went down. This never happens. It was hugely impactful to their regular school setups, and we were right in the middle of transitioning all our existing schools to the new server. So that backed things up for a couple of days. The other thing that happened is that our Pearson contact, you may have met our contact Matt, who's been super helpful in making sure that we had all the resources we need to get our Pearson software going. He was suddenly transitioned to a new job with Houghton Mifflin starting yesterday or today, and we got the call on Friday. So that's sort of backing things up for us too. I think there is a third reason. I can't remember it right now. The long and short of it is that we've done everything. Steve and Tony and I have done everything that we can to get this transition finished up. Unfortunately, it's out of our hands at this point, and it's on Pearson. To that end, they have a great team working on taking over the transition. We're getting updates almost every day in terms of what they're doing, and we should be getting an update today, if we haven't already, in terms of what timeline we can expect to get any school who didn't start calendar year 2015 with the NEF over to the new server. So I know that there are probably teachers and principals and parents who are maybe down your throats in terms of why can't I get SuccessMaker on yet? Why aren't we doing GradPoint yet? I apologize. As much as we can take responsibility for it, I'm trying to get things moving forward more quickly. Now to the good news. The good news is that everybody's going to be on this same server. It's going to be nice and easy to get to. There's not going to be any Java involved. Everybody say yay. There's no Java for the new SuccessMaker GradPoint. It's all in HTML5. Even better, in SuccessMaker Reading, there's no Flash effective now. So you can do Flash, or you can do SuccessMaker Reading on Chromebooks or iPads or any device that can connect to the internet. Probably needs a big enough screen, but other than that, you can get onto SuccessMaker Reading. The other thing is that in 2016, they're going to finish taking all the Flash out of Math. So if you are looking to do SuccessMaker Math on a Chromebook or an iPad, you'll either need to get the Pearson app, or you'll need to use Puffin Academy to get the courses available on those devices. GradPoint, if you're a GradPoint school, we're moving over to nef.gradpoint.com. Again, the transition is either close to done or done, so if you can't get on yet, hang tight, and we'll get you on as soon as we can. Finally, the NEFU courses, like I said, we're moving over to a great new learning management system. It's going to be a lot better user experience and a lot easier for everybody to get onto these NEFU courses. So I'll send you out more information on that as we wrap that up. So a couple of things everybody should be aware of as we kick off this 2015-2016 school year. We're going to look back just a little bit on data from 2014 to 15. I'm going to get you up to speed on some of the SuccessMaker stuff, give you some tips on doing your initial placement for SuccessMaker, and how to manage your licenses. And we're doing some new things with contests this year. So the first thing, we're looking at correlation with your state test scores. And this sounds scary, sounds verbose. Basically what we're looking to see is if you are at a certain level in SuccessMaker, where were you on your state test? And for a lot of schools, I know that a lot of states had some really big issues with their state tests this year. That's fine. If you can't compare it year to year, that's fine. But what we're looking to see is if a student, what level, basically how it correlates from where they were in SuccessMaker to how they did on their state tests. Pearson claims that there's a 90% correlation between students who are at a certain target level and how they perform on the state tests. We want to see that in real life. We want to see how your students' data lines up with that. And so we understand if you need to fudge names or totally take names out, just use student IDs or whatever. But if there's a way that you can correlate your student performance on state tests to their level within SuccessMaker for the appropriate subject on the date at which they took their test, we're going to want to see that. So Tony can give you more information on that and when he returns, and otherwise we'll probably be sending you an email with some more direction on that. For SuccessMaker, if this is still within your first year using SuccessMaker, or you haven't touched it all summer, or even if you have, I highly encourage everybody to go through some refresher content for SuccessMaker, especially because we have a new version. SuccessMaker 8, and what you can do is you can hop on to mypearsontraining.com. You might remember this as My Training Connection, but just hop on to mypearsontraining.com. Create an account if you haven't already done so using your customer ID. You can find that in your welcome letter for Pearson when you set up SuccessMaker. And let me know if you can't find it. We have an NEFU one that you can use. But then check out the SuccessMaker on-demand training. The three big areas of getting started, reports and interventions, and the next steps have really good information for you as the administrator for your school for SuccessMaker. And there's also going to be a lot of good content in there for any administrators who want to see the content or your teachers who are using SuccessMaker. So I'm going to just pop over real quick and show you the process for logging into My Pearson Training. When you log in, or when you get to the website, you'll see this information. If you start scrolling through, you'll see all this Pearson software that's available. Well, that's kind of overwhelming. First thing you want to do is sign in using your username and password, and then start searching for the courseware that you're looking for. So I'm just going to type in Success. All right, we've got a bunch of them. Here's SuccessMaker. Well, easy way of doing this, just so you know, you can just star the software that you like, and I'll add it to your favorites. So the next time you log in, you can just click on Favorites and see the courseware that you have starred. Once you're in the SuccessMaker area, it gives you a little bit of review. The areas where I encourage you to check out are the on-demand training. This is where you can find the video tutorials that have all this great information. It's a huge resource for you. And then if you still find that you don't have everything that you want, you can actually set up a webinar online, and this is totally free. This is a great resource if you want to do a little bit of a refresher training for your teachers that goes beyond the video tutorials. So what you can do is you can just pick a date and time that works for you and schedule a webinar with a Pearson trainer, and pick the content that you want to go over, and then just have all the people that you want to be in attendance in attendance. So it's a really great tool. Between the on-demand training and the webinar registration, those should have everything you need to get back up to speed if you have any questions. And just so you know, I'm going to highlight this video in the next slide. This is called Managing Users and Groups. So we'll see that in just a second. This is transitioning into your initial placement phase. Now, I know a lot of times that the initial placement seemed like it took forever. Well, the good news is that SM8 doesn't have that. The initial placement phase in SM8 has been really fine-tuned and should go a lot quicker. But if you want to make it go even quicker, and you can select a level for students who are at a different performing level than they are grade level. Now, we're only going to recommend doing this if they're more than one grade level away from their performing level or vice versa. So if you have a 5th grader who is in SuccessMaker Math or Reading at a 3rd grade level, that's when it would be appropriate to do this sort of adjustment. If they're within a half a year or even a whole year, the initial placement process will identify that pretty quickly. But if you need to, you can set students at P level before they even start doing their assessments. It's in a refresher how to do that is in that tutorial I just showed you. This is going to help your students go through the initial placement a lot more quickly, and it's going to get them out of the assessment and into the actual learning and growth phase a lot quicker. In general, though, we're setting a target for all of our schools who are starting now or who have started now to be out of initial placement phase by the end of September. Now, we found that initial placement can sometimes take as long as 3 hours. Usually it takes between 90 minutes and 2 hours. So it might not hurt to schedule in some extra time to complete initial placement testing for any students who still aren't quite where they need to be by the last week of September. If you have any questions on that, let us know. We can help you figure out ways to get students to where they need to be. The other thing we want you to be aware of is low-use students. We're going to be sending you reports about what students aren't using the software as much as other students, but you can stay on top of it too if you choose to. And this will just help make sure that your lessons are being used efficiently. Also, it's going to help keep your average up. If you have students who aren't using the software, they're just going to be bringing your yearly average down, your weekly average down. So it's to your benefit to be aware of the students that, for whatever reason, aren't in the system as much as they should be. One thing I do want to mention, I realize I haven't mentioned it yet, our weekly reporting last year, we had you do a lot of the math on. We're changing that this year. We're going to be sending you reports. And we're not actually going to be tracking anything between now and the end of September. If you get some extra gain done by then, that's great. But again, our target is to get everybody done with initial placement by September 30th. Then, beginning in October, we'll be doing our week-to-week tracking of average grade level increase and so on. And we'll be sending you the weekly reports that shows you with a grade breakdown of what your performance is, what your students' performance is, and where that is compared to your weekly target, your year-to-date target, and your trajectory for the rest of the year. So a heck of a lot less math for you guys, which should be exciting. A heck of a lot less math for me, too. We're actually working with a group at SUNY Pasadena to build a system that does it automatically, and that'll be a real easy way for you to stay on top of where you are. Again, if you have any questions, pop them out at us. Tony stepped away. He should be back in just a moment. But Steve and I are here. We're happy to help you with any questions that you may have. Going on, the other new thing that we're introducing this year, and this is really Tony's sort of branch of expertise. He'll be running these, but I'll give a little rundown. We're doing STEM Plus Academy contests, and Tony is the NCAA rep on Potsdam campus, and they do a really good job of recognizing scholar athletes. And we're not going to do anything like call our students mathletes or reading elites. But we are going to have Students of the Week based on their grade level increased performance. So we're going to have Students of the Week, Students of the Month, Students of the Year, and then we're going to have National Scholars of the Year. And we'll talk a little bit more about each of those in just a second. And Tony's back. Perfect timing. Tony, would you like to speak on the STEM Plus Academy contests? I just told them that we're going to be doing them, and that it's because we can have scholar athletes. Well, why not scholars?
Sure. So essentially, it's kind of a no-brainer. Each week, we identify the top-performing math and top-performing reading student as measured by growth in each academy. We'll award a certificate, and we want just a brief statement from each of those students, kind of a little blurb, 140 characters or less, that we can tweet and put in social media. And we'd like pictures of those students holding their certificates as well. Sometimes you can get that permission, sometimes you can't. And then we'll do the same thing each month and have Students of the Month for each academy, but we'll also open up the monthly competitions to national level, which means you'll be competing among all academies. And so that is kind of a bigger deal. It's one that you certainly could promote at your school if you happen to have a student who is a math or reading student of the month. And then we finally have Students of the Year, and those Students of the Year, we're actually going to be giving out college scholarships to the top students of the year. So that's kind of a big deal. We're not giving out full college scholarships to go to Yale or anything, but we will have some money available to the top 2 performing students. On top of that, we do have our STEM Journey stories. And Marshall mentioned earlier, I'm sorry I couldn't mention it myself, about the STEM games and activities. The idea being it's a sandbox where you can explore and play in the spirit of what STEM is really all about, and that's kind of exploring your environment and being creative within that environment. We'd love to hear a presentation or an essay from the students involved with those activities. So we'll be judging those essays and/or presentations and giving out 5 awards at the end of the year for the top 5 STEM stories. But as we say, regardless of who are the named winners in the contests, everybody wins.
Thanks, Tony. That was nice. So that's about it in terms of what we have and what we hope that you can use as resources in getting your academy set up. Like I said, September is sort of a get-going month. I know the schedule's kind of weird. The students are getting used to a new schedule. Teachers are getting used to a new schedule. So the goal is to have the initial placement done by the end of the month, and then we'll start tracking weekly progress beginning in October. So if you're able to get some extra time in there, more benefit to you and your students, that's great. We do want to give you some contact information for us. We're happy to help you with anything. You're going to ask us any questions on your incentives, your budget, your stipend, your license arrangement, what you can do to make your academy better, pretty much everything. You can get a hold of us by calling 315-665-1633 or calling NEF Potsdam, or emailing nefpotsdam@gmail.com. You know that email address pretty well. If, however, you have questions on tech support, your best bet is to cut us out as the middleman and go right to Pearson. There's a website right there that usually has information on any ongoing issues with Pearson software, or there's a phone number there. You can start doing a ticket directly. If you ever have an email going on, please include us. Just keep us in the loop, whether it's by email or by phone when you're talking with Pearson, so that we're aware of anything that's going on that might be holding you or your teachers or your students up. Sometimes the issues that are affecting you are affecting more than one school, so it'll be useful to be able to share that with other schools as soon as possible. The only other information down there is if you have questions about the NEFU courses, once those are up and running, contact me directly. I run that show, and my email address is down there. And that about does it. We're really, really excited for this year. We have more resources and more experienced schools working with us this year than we ever have before. Good luck to everybody, especially if you're going for the Academy of the Year award. We hope that there's a fierce competition at the end and that we have some hard choices to make in terms of who to award that to. And just remember, this is all for the students. You can have all the incentives and stipends and courseware in the world, but you just got to remember that this is for the benefit of the students. So just keep that as your end goal, and things should naturally fall into place. So at this point, that about does it. If you folks have any other questions, let me know. Let us know. At least I am going to hang on for the next minute or two. You can pop a question into the question and answer box, and I'm happy to address it. Otherwise, just give me a okay, I got everything in the question and answer box, so that I know that you are here, I know that you got everything, and I know that you don't have any questions. But gonna give Tony a chance to sign off. Oh, he's going away.
All right, see everybody.
There he is. Okay.
All right.
Steve, any parting words?
The sooner you get those leaderboard forms in, the quicker I can start working on those and get them in the mail. So that's again, that's on the website. Just look around for leaderboard stuff.
That's right.
Alrighty.
Well, folks, thanks so much. This has been a great experience. We're happy that we were able to connect with you. If you have any questions that weren't answered, if you have any questions that you'd rather have answered by email, shoot us an email. And otherwise, we'll be in contact later on this week as we get our regular weekly reports, weekly conversations going. And yeah, I hope that you had a great experience. And like I said, I'll be hanging out for a couple of minutes, so feel free to ask any other questions. Thanks a lot, guys.
Bye, Mush. Thank you.
Bye, Steve. Bye, Tony. All right, folks, I think I'm going to call it. Again, thanks so much for your time today, and we'll send you a link to recording this webinar, as well as all the links that we covered after our last session tomorrow. All right, have a great night. Thanks a lot.